Yo, yo, yo. I don't think so. No, we're good. You just need to tape the corridor if you want. If you can do it. There's duct tape right here. That way nobody trips on it. Hello, hello. Jose, Jose, come here. Can you do me a favor? Can you go stand over there by the where Tori's gonna talk, and then start talking?
Hello, testing. One, two, three. Background noise. Alright. Justin has a nice t-shirt. I've seen him make it. Keep on?
No,
You good?
no, I just wanted
You got it?
to adjust the video here.
You want some help?
Sure. There's another one in the house.
Okay, good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, go to Rex. He'll direct you. Or it's underneath the TV. Yeah, don't bother with Rex. Yep, we're gonna start filling the seats. Maybe start over there too. Or yeah, we almost finish up here. I might need to put some more together.
All right. I got Wheezy and Opal set up over there.
Awesome. Did you show Weezy where all the snacks are?
I don't know what they are.
Okay.
Want me to go over and find them and then show them where she is?
Show her the fridge and
She's been
show her the
here.
cookies. No, just say that she's allowed to have anything that she wants.
You guys, hi. Basically, at this point, what we need is we need campaign and Jose. This is my son, Jose. Hi. Figure all that out and get this set up to start blocking people in case the police come out. Yeah, that's the table. That's the table. Right. Yeah, no, that's fine.
San Diego. Okay.
Exactly what that place looks like.
Yeah. All right, there it is.
Who knows? Maybe we'll do rivalries together.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Super good.
Take turns in not like I like this. Like we're like yeah.
It's kind of lucky. If you say so, you call. What about this one?
No,
You see a shoe with that.
we are.
Oh, yeah. Not very helpful. Sure, you got the button.
Yeah. Well, we actually have a written policy that we won't take over. Yeah. No, because we don't work. So we have the right to this video. They stopped that. What happened was So like
Hello, I'm waiting for you. Never alone. Tonight, I throw myself into blue. Out of the red, out of the head, she said. Come down and waste away with me. Down with me. So well, you wanted it to be. Over my head, out of the head, she said. And I wonder, when I sing along with you, if everything will ever be this way forever, if anything can ever be this good again, the only thing I'll ever ask of you, gotta promise not to stop when I say it when she says. Breathe out so I can breathe you in. Won't you in? And now I know you've always been here. Out of your head, out of your head, and I wonder when I feel alone with you. Everything will ever feel this way forever. Anything will ever feel this good again. Only thing I'll ever ask of you. Gotta promise not to stop when I say you will. She said.
I got a pretty cushy gig right now because I got it's kind of a promotion, but
Hello, hello.
I did not. I signed up for one. shows.
Yeah, I think you're good just saving me a little bit. Yeah, I just think that's probably for you guys.
Huh?
Yeah, you saw I had to like, it was a different workout holding your arms behind me like
Right.
that. I definitely need that part to be worked out.
Thank God, though. We'd be dying without it.
It gets real bad up here.
I have everything you need. Where do you want to go? Anywhere. Let me see what's good with the pool first. I might. Hi, Dina. Hi.
Yeah? Good. You guys left your live on. What's that? Hello, hello. Wendy.
Oh, yeah. I bet I tried that. I didn't fire up my name.
Are you guys going to hang out here for a little bit? Will you, if you see people,
Oh, I'm a there.
yeah, all families like sitting up here, so just guard the spots. I think people know. I think people know, but just in case you have one person.
I was there. I was like,
I don't know if Lauren talked to you about like when we're gonna get started or
no.
maybe. Okay, did Lauren talk to you about when we're gonna get started? No. Okay. So I'm gonna talk to her, but I think the idea is that we're gonna give you guys the go ahead to make an announcement. So just make sure it's super loud and just say like the ceremony's gonna get started in like 15 minutes. Please find your seats. And then Lauren will give you like once we're like coming up all seated, we'll give you the go ahead to start the first song. Do you have the announcement song?
I'm gonna, yeah.
Yes.
I have everything set up. I'm just trying to get everything down.
Yeah. Do you need anything?
We're actually gonna do the last thing I got right now.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So just so we have an idea of what's going on.
I call you. As fast.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello. 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 Everything okay?
Oh yeah, yeah. Right there. The black dress. Straight ahead. Straight ahead of you. Okay, you know what? I was walking
Right there. Yeah.
No, pero quiero que hacen una de también. No quiero que ella no es
I should go find that guy. Oh, wait. Justin? Okay, so I go there. I don't
From the actual podcast.
Yeah, but it's not working. So, okay, I go to here, right? And I already liked it. Okay, so copy. Perfect. Thank you so much.
It's already live. You should actually leave it.
Oh, sit here. Right now? Bro. Anything else you want? Oh,
She does hair for a living. The first three lines are family, so we work together. I'm gonna speak to
You know what? Is there any way we can like make it just a little lower so that it's like right here? All right.
Henry. I was gonna say, you want or you got? Right? 36 to 32. Wow. Living in different states. Oh, it's rough. I did the other day. And I was all,
Just sit here.
oh, you do?
Yeah. If you want to sit back there, that's fine too.
Daniel.
How are you? Yeah, so that's the way. You're leaving for 2 days. Hi.
Yeah. It's so high.
Thanks. Oh, happy birthday.
Today, huh?
Also, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Oh, number or something? Watch this camera.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. It's kind of caught out the window. I see a lot of dogs in here. What do you say right here? No, I think all the speakers and do you guys want to sit here? Next to Grandma and Grandpa? Yeah. Come sit next to Grandma and Grandpa. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think.
Oh, I got this right over here.
Yeah, okay, good? Okay. I can't. So where you find a chair?
You guys did something to drink? Jim, you okay?
My glasses are magnification.
Yeah. We're right there.
Huh? I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh yeah, the cheers. Yeah. Oh really? It's really nice. Yeah, they're not good.
Wouldn't have to go a bunch of pull that What's there? Oh, here you go. Hey. We'll jump in. You want to just grab one from the front? Grab one chair from over there instead of this.
Let's see her. Yeah, I don't think anybody can walk that.
No, no, wait.
Oh, president. The people being. Oh my gosh. Can you guys ask them to grab one of those little things that's Kleenex and pass it down the line, please? Thank you so much. I forgot. Yeah. You need to hold it
Anybody need a water? Water? I'll get some more.
You did?
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I can't remember.
Oh, no, no, no.
You're
Josh is right in the middle of the I know, after you took the picture, I looked and Josh was right in between me. I was like, oh, but they were looking at each other like this, like, in the middle of their nothing. I was like, oh.
When I could do this often and make that change.
Good morning. On behalf of Joshua, our family, which includes the Kunkles, the Garcias, the Andersons, the Waters, and the Berries, we would like to welcome you to the Ivy House. The piece of music that you just listened to was from one of Joshua's favorite movies, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. From my point of view, its creator, Miyazaki, it includes in all his films, but especially this one, the idea of compassion and understanding instead of the normal good versus evil script. Leadership, honor, and strength lay in our capacity to assume responsibility and care for others and our surroundings. Consistent stewardship of our ancestors, our communities, and the natural world is what this movie is about. I believe this movie shaped Joshua as he grew into the man we are celebrating today. One of the most courageous, patient, interesting, intelligent, kind, and unique people I have ever known. Joshua Lyon Kunkle was born on Father's Day, June 19th, 1983, at 8:05 a.m. He was born to a 17-year-old mother named Tori and a 19-year-old father named Joe. And if that's not courageous, I don't know what is. They say we pick our parents. Joshua was clearly rolling the dice. That being said, I loved him from the moment I got pregnant and always will. In fact, I don't really remember much of my life without him. His sister Tandy has never remembered a life without Joshua. Quite frankly, our family on both sides were still pretty young. The youngest were my brothers Chris, Matt, who were 15 and 12, and my brother-in-law Pat, who was 9. We all grew up together. I was so honored to be Joshua's mom, and there are so many wonderful memories he gave us. Here are just a few that stand out. One weekend, my brother and sister-in-law, Jim and Josie, now mind you, they were in their early 20s, watched Joshua and Tandy for the weekend. When we got back, the kids were corralled in the kitchen with newspaper on the floor, like puppies. I guess Joshua had gotten into the fridge and put sliced American cheese all over the mirror in the living room and dumped out all the dirts and the plants. Needless to say, Jim was 30 when Jenny, my niece, was born. In fact, Jenny just told me that Joshua had come down to Florida on spring break, and that's when her cousin Joshua turned her on to Def Punk. And when your older cousin shares music with you, that's a pretty great memory. As a young boy, of course, he loved dinosaurs. Actually, he never stopped. When he turned 5, we took him on a dinosaur hunt, which my mom, Jackie, and Joe set up. He was so happy that he found a cracked dinosaur egg, and he kept that egg until he was 13 years old. My family lived close, so they were always doing things with Joshua, like my brother Chris taking him on his first zoo trip, or his grandparents taking him fishing, or taking him to the big dinosaurs at Hadley Farms. There was nothing out there at that time. My brother Matt used to ride him around on his quad runner, and I remember my dad Jim taught Joshua how to play chess. And as soon as Joshua won, my dad got up and said, "Well, I guess we're done here." And I think he was about 10 or 11. Joshua's best friend when he was young was Keith. They were inseparable. Keith was like my third child. He went everywhere with us, camping trips, birthday parties, or just swimming in the pool. As Joshua got older, his friend Justin was a big part of his life. I remember one time they took a canoe down to the Marietta Creek after a lot of rain. Needless to say, the fire department was called, and that ended the fun that day. And who could forget the BB gun war of 2000? By then, Josh had met Jose and Andrew. Joshua and the gang were eating at Carl's Jr. after the incident and trying to figure out what to do as Joshua's eye became looking worse by the minute. I guess they thought food would fix that problem. They came home and asked Joshua's grandmother, Linda, and thank God someone was at home with some sense because she told him to go to the ER. I was at work at the time, so not responsible. But Joshua called me from there and told me that everything was okay and not to worry. I asked him why he wasn't wearing protective gear. His answer, it was too dark and we couldn't see. So I decided he was almost 18 and this would be a good learning experience for him. So I said, okay. Yeah, you did that. Then the ER nurse called me and told me I had to get down there because the BB that Joshua thought bounced off his face actually went behind his eye. I rushed down only to be met by Detective Gangley, who told me that somebody was in trouble. I begged him not to do anything because it could have just easily have been one of the other dumb boys and Joshua could have ended up in the hot seat. And I'm really glad that we lived in a smaller city then because all the boys that were involved have become wonderful members of society. The BB was never taken out, and the crazy thing is he had better than 20/20 vision in that eye afterwards. But when he was tired, you could tell. Even though most of them went on their own path, they kept in touch every now and again. Childhood friendships are important. They set the stage for your life. One of the biggest family trips we went on was to Europe. We saved for 8 months, and for Christmas the previous year, we all got suitcases for presents. My brother and sister-in-law, John and Barb, were stationed in Belgium, and it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so we took it. I was really proud of myself that I could give that experience to Josh and Tandy. We were there for 3 weeks, and I can't thank John and Barb enough for everything. I think Joshua really got that there was this big world out there, plus he got to buy his first bottle of wine. and drink it. We all had a fabulous time, and we realized that most humans all want the same thing. We are spiritual beings having a human experience after all. Joshua was that person who did everything in the right order. After school, he would get his homework done first, just to get it out of the way. Who does that? Joshua did. He wasn't the popular kid in school. In fact, high school was very hard because his friends had different schedules, and he found himself in the library a lot helping out, which I'm sure made the librarian happy. And I also think it's one of the reasons he chose that profession, was to give back. I used to tell him he was going to love being an adult, because even if you don't like where you're at, you can change it. All his teachers, including the principal, really liked him because he was unique. In fact, one time he got in trouble, and the principal called me apologizing. Sorry that you have to be suspending your son. I mean, he was very apologetic. I was kind of blown back. But when we moved up here to the Ivy House, it was in pretty bad shape, so a lot of work had to be done, but he never complained. Even when his bedroom was a recliner for 8 months in the living room, he loved living here. He would take pride in watering the orchard every day after school, and he made a great maze up the hill, which he worked on for months. It was a Halloween party that the kids threw. It had lights all throughout the maze, and it was really amazing. He had perseverance even at a young age, but I'm sure Legos are responsible for that. Every Christmas and birthdays for most of his young life, he would ask if we could all pitch in and get him a big Lego set. And then he would spend about a week in his room, I never saw him, putting it together. He likes spending time alone with himself, which is such a great thing, because he learned how to fill his own cup, and a lot of people need to learn how to do that. He graduated from high school, and he had a plan and went off to college, first earning a BA in liberal arts, and then a master's in library science and information. Joshua came home for all holidays and summers. Quite often, after Christmas, he would go to his grandparents and cook them a meal. He loved his grandparents very much. They were the calm in a household that was not always the most stable. One Christmas I remember fondly because he lit all my candles before I got home from work. And I remember how nice it was to come home. And all I could think of was how his father should take notes. He was very thoughtful like that. His college career did not start out with a master's in library science, however. He originally went to Embry-Riddle in Arizona to be an electrical engineer. But in his second year, he was struggling with calculus. I remember we talked about it because he seemed so upset at himself. He said he promised himself in high school that he would become an electrical engineer. It was important to him that if he gave his word, even to himself, he kept it. I asked him if he was happy, and I told him that if he were fortunate enough to live till 80, he could have 3 20-year careers. And that's a long time not to be happy. At 37, he had one down and was halfway on his next. I'm glad he did not put his life on hold. Truth be known, he was intelligent enough. He had a very high IQ. But I think he was lonely and missing his family and friends back home. So he transferred to San Francisco, where he could reinvent himself and be close to Tandy. It sure made it easier to visit more often. And some of the best memories I have are the 3 of us hanging out, flying kites, and drinking wine at the park. Coincidentally, Roxana was in San Francisco at the same time, but they didn't meet there. It wasn't the right time, but I think they were destined to meet. and that's how soulmates work. While he was going to college, he worked at San Francisco State Library and also at the UCSF Medical Library. And that's probably why he used to medically treat himself. Fish antibiotics work just as well and without a prescription. There was a time between his bachelor's and master's where he was out of a job and I was paying his rent for a couple months. I finally had to talk to him about it, and it was hard because I would have gladly have kept paying, but I did not have the resources. Rent was coming up in a few days, and he told me, "Don't pay it." And I said, "Well, how will you make it?" And he said, "If you don't pay it, I'll have to." I said, "Okay." And he went out and sold almost every CD he had, along with some other things, and got a job that day at a place called Beaches as a prep cook. This is where he got his start with making beer. The owner's husband had passed away, and he was into making beer. And she liked Joshua so much that she gave him the equipment, and Joshua started making beer in his apartment. Of course, there was that occasional explosion or two, but that's how you learn. Excuse me. When he came back home after graduation, he was a little disappointed in the fact that he could not get a job right away, but he did not give up. He volunteered at the library in Temecula for over 6 months and worked at Papa John's Pizza. Now, that's not what you want to be doing with a master's degree and student debt looming over your head. My brother-in-law let him live with him across the courtyard, so technically he wouldn't be living at home. I know he was getting impatient to start his life on his own and probably felt like he was going backwards, but that's what adulting looks like, right? He finally landed a job in Cathedral City and within a year became branch manager at the city library. He was so happy to be close to Joshua Tree. He really loved that place. He got an apartment and started making his new home there. Now, he had the job he wanted, and he also had a beer hobby that he was very passionate about. He included his father, Joe, and his uncle, Pat, in his passion. I think it was his way to stay close to his family, but in a more relaxed, fun setting, not the typical balls to the wall chaos we always seem to find ourselves in. Pat had bought a fridge for the beer, and they all worked on it. It wasn't long before Joshua started really getting good at making his own beer. And I wish Joe would have been a part of that. He passed shortly after. In fact, Joshua's beer that he made for Joe was done 3 days after Joe's transition. And I think it always bothered him that his dad never got to try this beer. But I'm sure Joe has been watching all these years. And probably they had a lot to talk about. When Ida joined the family, Joshua loved her instantly. He loved her bubbly personality, her spicy enchiladas, and he could practice Spanish with her. Joshua used to tell me he always wanted to be the most interesting man in the room. He was to me. Now, a lot of people wish that, but very few are that. He was always very intelligent and never let himself rest on his laurels. The library gave him access to learn, and his beer making allowed him to put into practice what he learned. It's one thing to read and know something. It's quite another to share what you've learned with people from all walks of life and interact with them. He loved the exchange of ideas and philosophy. We could talk for hours about what the real game of life was all about. Community was everything to him. He used to tell me that you can't change Congress, so why waste your energy on it? but you can change your community with that energy. And once you change your community, it's a ripple effect. One of the ways he did this was he used to take underprivileged kids to Joshua Tree so they could experience nature. And in 2020, he donated sanitizer, which he made with this still. I think today is proof that he was right. I see the love that Joshua left behind everywhere. One of his attributes that I most love about Joshua is his energy. He could patiently meet you at your level. He was kind to his core, and he lived in the moment when he was with you. He would help. Well, he would help anyone with anything. Many of you have your own experiences of a time when Joshua helped you. That was his love language, acts of service. It didn't matter what it was, he was game. If he promised to help, he always showed up. He made life easy for others, but that doesn't mean it was always easy for him. But after spending much of his life contemplating it, he found his true, authentic self, and more importantly, he learned how to love himself. Over the last 10 years, Joshua moved to Palm Springs, bought a house, or should I say a very large cooler for his beer, met Roxana, made lots and lots of amazing beer, won many awards, of which I was fortunate enough to be able to be there for some of them. Worked at 3 different libraries, 2 at the same time, was president of the Coachella Valley Home Brew Club, and started doing a podcast with Justin Allen. And most importantly, he found his tribe. He had 2 members of his tribe from grade school, which were always his foundation, Andrew and Jose. But in the last few years, he found so many people who shared his life views. In fact, his roommates, Morgan and Grace, told me that Joshua was a mentor for them, showing them what healthy relationships look like. Not to mention all the fun game nights, which Joshua really loved. Now, being a librarian by day and a home brewer by night and weekends may seem at odds with one another, but it was perfect for Joshua. He found a job which he loved, and that job afforded him his passion. And in my opinion, it's the perfect combination. Most recently, Joshua and Roxana were planning a brand new adventure in Santa Rosa. This was probably one of the busiest times for Joshua, tying up loose ends and trying to spend as much time with as many people as possible. I know that if Joshua were here right now, he would tell us that sadly he had to go and that he will miss everyone so much, especially the love of his life, Roxana. Being in Santa Rosa, he was going to be closer to Tandy as well, only as adults with some life experience under their belt. They were making plans to see each other more, especially because of Opal, his niece, and I would have loved that for our family. Joshua and Tandy were both in a great place. Now, as a parent, if you are one, you know this doesn't happen very often. I believe it's one of the 7 signs of the apocalypse or something. But I know he is here. He is everywhere. He no longer is constrained by his physical form, although he did have a handsome one. I have been getting images of puzzles constantly since Joshua's transition. He loved them. He made them. His life and all our lives are one. When we come into this world, our mission is to complete our puzzle. Our puzzle is made up of all the people we come in contact with over the course of our lifetime, no matter how small a part they play. It's the experiences we have along the way, and most importantly, it's how we react to these experiences that give us the opportunity for growth. For some people, it's an easy puzzle, maybe 100 pieces. For Joshua, it was a hard, challenging, over 1,000-piece puzzle. All of you are part of his puzzle, and he was in yours. You showed up for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. You all are so important to him. And by being here today, you are in each other's as well. In fact, if you would just take a moment to look around at all the beautiful people that are here today. I know Joshua is smiling at us right now. I'd like to share a short essay written by Courtney A. Walsh, and I think it's appropriate for Joshua's life. Dear human, you've got it all wrong. You didn't come here to master unconditional love. That is where you are from and where you'll return. You came here to learn personal love, universal love, messy love, sweaty love, crazy love, broken love, whole love, infused with divinity. Live through the grace of stumbling, demonstrated through the beauty of messing up, often. You didn't come here to be perfect. You already are. You came here to be gorgeously human, flawed and fabulous, and then rise again into remembering. But unconditional love, stop telling that story. Love and truth doesn't need any other adjectives. It doesn't require modifiers. It doesn't require the condition of perfection. It only asks that you show up and that you do your best and that you stay present and feel fully, that you shine and fly and laugh and cry and hurt and heal and fall and get back up and play and work and live and die as you. It's enough. It's plenty. It's Joshua. This has been the hardest 7 weeks of my entire life. And I have learned that it's in our vulnerability that we can embrace growth. It's our fear of growth that holds us back. And it's through love that we are free. I think Joshua mastered being human. He is free. I love you, son. Thank you for everything, now and always. Sorry, I can't do it.
There you go.
Before I officially met Joshua in August of 2014 at a work meeting, I had been doing a lot of soul searching that year, and I had created a list of attributes that I wanted and desired in a mate. The list is as follows. I wanted someone funny, a man of his word, someone thoughtful, an overall good person. Several months later, the universe gave me Joshua. He was all these things and more. I could not believe I had found this amazing human being who loved and desired me just the way I was. He didn't just become my colleague, he was my partner, my lover, and my treasured best friend. I never knew two souls could be so entwined. We both learned and taught each other so much. It was a very loving, supportive, an albeit very strange relationship. It didn't always make a lot of sense to others, but it made perfect sense to us. We were able to be our authentic selves with each other, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But through it all, we held firm in our love and our support of each other. Some people never get to experience that. They never get to touch and taste that kind of love. About finding your true soulmate on this plane. I am proud and honored to say that I managed to. Someone who completely complimented me and balanced me out. Now all I can do is feel grateful. So eternally grateful that we had found each other and that we managed to have 7 magical years together. I wish we had had more time. I would have loved to see what life had in store for us. The highs and the lows. It wouldn't have mattered because we would have been together, hand in hand, eternally supporting each other. I had this silly game I used to play with Joshua all the time, where I would mumble the words "I love you" to him. He would get so upset and irritated, and he would call me out on it, like, say it. But I did it because I loved him. It was a cute name, and I kind of liked annoying him just a little bit. But because of that, and so he forever knows that I am proclaiming it loud and proud in front of all of our family and friends that I love you, I love you, I love you. Te quiero mucho, mi amor. You go forward forever, be a part of who I am, and I love you forever, always and forever. Joshua, my uncle.
Feels like standing time is feels like I lost time can't stay. Those days flowers crashing into me. When I you got you got almost melted away. So baby, I'm never scared of pure white stones. Some sweetness, magic always forever. We sit together everywhere. I love you, always forever. We sit together everywhere. I love you, everything. I before you say you love me. Will it never stop? Now will it near or far at all? It's everywhere. And if you say you love me, will it never stop? Now will it near or far at all? It's everywhere. And if you say you love me, will it never stop? Now will it near or far at all? It's everywhere. And if you say you love me, will it never stop? Now will it near or far at all? It's everywhere. And if you say always forever, we will fly, we'll sit together everywhere. I hope you know everything. I know before that I love you. Always forever, we will fly, we'll sit together everywhere. I
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello. Hi. Hello. Many of you have already met me, but for those of you who haven't, I'm Tandy, and I'm very proud to say that I'm Josh's sister. I'm also really proud and honored to be able to meet so many wonderful people who are coming today together to honor him. The love you have shown our family throughout this incredibly difficult time has left me stunned by your kindness, care, and big-heartedness. I specifically wanted to address you, Joshua's friends, his chosen family, and recognize you for all that you meant to him. So to start, as friends, I'm sure you already knew this, but I can confirm Josh has always been a huge nerd. But when I say nerd, what I mean is that he was openly and proudly curious, obsessed, and passionate about things. He was a thoughtful guy, and if you asked him, he didn't hold back in sharing what he knew and what he thought about things. And in a world of people who limit themselves for fear of judgment, that is an absolutely rare and stunning thing. And it wasn't that Josh didn't give a shit about what others thought, he simply was incapable of it. Being misunderstood never bothered him. He was only ever bothered when he didn't understand. And Josh was always at the ready whenever there was something new to learn. I think that was the magic of him. Joshua's authentic, unabashed enthusiasm for things was intoxicating. It always felt so good and healthy to be around. Maybe it was an innate longing to want something a little more satisfying in our lives that drew us to him. But now today, we find ourselves bound together by our devastation at his loss, a collective of broken hearts. Josh was my first friend. I was born and he was already there, ready with a diaper and a bottle to help take care of me. And he always took care of me, even as we grew up. He was the brother who dragged me to KMFDM concerts so I could get a little culture. He helped me figure out how to return to college so I could get my degree, which is one of my dreams. And he braved the cold, wet weather he absolutely hated to come up to Washington and help us fix up our crappy little house so we could welcome our new baby. We both lived in San Francisco for a time, far away from our parents, which is awesome. Working, going to school, partying, making a million mistakes, and testing the waters of what it means to be a good and decent human being. Spoiler alert, we did not always succeed at being good and decent. But as they say, what happens in San Francisco stays in San Francisco. But throughout, there we go. I'm gonna move this over. But throughout, Josh and I had some great times, and we learned a lot about ourselves. What I saw in him during those years was a young man in search of his truth. And I believe he found it. And with his hard-fought truth, he found you all. He found his people. He found love. You all accepted him for who he was, as he was. For me, it is a beautiful thing to be among so many who are special enough to see how special Josh was. And what I see in all of you is irrefutable proof that Josh's life was full and happy. So I'm going to wrap up with a bit of a non sequitur here. When Josh and I were in high school, there was a time when he was kind of obsessed with the movie Tombstone, particularly with the final battle scene where Val Kilmer, as Doc Holliday says, "I'm your Huckleberry."
I think it was a year or more, he would walk around the house just randomly saying, "I'm your Huckleberry. Hey, Tandy, I'm your Huckleberry." No, perhaps you, like me, have a general sense of what that means, but not an actual sense of what it means to be somebody's Huckleberry. But good news, I looked it up. So in the Old West, being a Huckleberry meant you were up for anything and that you were the one to bring trouble to your opponent. It was also a declaration that you were someone's champion. There were many times Joshua was my champion, and if you were Joshua's friend, you knew he always had your back. So here at Joshua's celebration of life, we see worlds colliding. Joshua's family, his coworkers, his friends, all here together on such a beautiful day. What we are all bound by today and forever is that we have been profoundly impacted by the loss of Joshua. But we have also been profoundly impacted by the love he showed us. Here we are together today to return that love to him so that he won't be empty-handed as he moves through his transition and embarks on his next journey. With that being said, I'd like to open the podium for a bit to invite people to come up and share memories of him that matter to you. Maybe there was a time when Josh made you laugh, supported you through a difficult time, or helped you change for the better. Maybe there was a time when he was your Huckleberry. Thank you.
Hi, I was Joshua's boss at the Beaumont Library District, and we have quite a contingent here from the library as a tribute to him. In fact, the library was closed today in his memory. We hired Joshua in the fall of 2017 as a librarian, full-time, and it wasn't long before he was promoted to senior librarian, which was a very responsible position. But Joshua was not your typical librarian because Joshua had skills. And we put those skills to work. No job was beneath him. Fixing the fences on the library property, climbing up on the roof to clear the leaves. He installed solar lights that lit the flagpole. He installed the solar lights that lit the parking lot. He did tremendous work on converting the 1949 original Carnegie Library bathroom into a staff bathroom. When I arrived, it was a closet where we were storing all sorts of things. I designed it. I bought all the fixtures, but he's the one that did all the hard sweat equity work to bring it into reality. And he also did the same type of work on what we're calling our heritage room, where we have a lot of archival materials at the library. But Josh also did a lot of librarian work. He did a lot of good things in technology, the website, with our grants. And in fact, he was working on a grant starting way back late last summer, early fall. And just this week, we found out that grant was awarded for $19,000 for the Time to Talk Tech grant program, which we will be implementing over the course of this next year. Joshua Kunkle left a lasting mark on the Beaumont Library District.
Hi, my name's Grace. I'm one of Josh's roommates. And Josh did incredible things, right? We all know he was an incredible man, fantastic man. But Josh really helped us out. Morgan and I, our previous living situation kind of like fell apart intensely, and we didn't have anywhere to go. Like we were looking for places, and rent is horrible, especially for two people, limited incomes. It's not good. And Morgan was talking to Josh about the situation, and Josh was just like, "Why don't you come live with me? You know, I have rooms. You two can stay here. You know, we can work something out with the rent. not super expensive, just you help me pay the mortgage and everything else is fine. And that level of kindness and openness, you don't see that very often. And he really turned it into a home for us. My previous living situation before the one that fell apart wasn't that great either. And living here now, it's the first time that I've ever had a home, a place where I can say, yes, this is my home and I live here. And we got to help him fix up the home and he helped us to customize our rooms and I helped him put the garage together and then also the walk-in cooler. And he never once made it seem like it was a big deal. He never made it an issue. He was just always so open and welcome and willing to help not only us, but anyone who came into his life. And we all know this, we're all here to celebrate this fantastic man. And I just want to thank you, Tori, for producing such an amazing son. I know that you say that he helped you as well, but if he didn't have a great example and a great role model, he wouldn't have been the fantastic man that we all knew. So thank you, and Josh, wherever you are, I love you so much.
Well, for those who don't know me, I'm Andrew's mom, and Josh was just like my son. Watching these kids in college was an interesting experience, knowing how brilliant they all were, and then they come home and have a few beers, and we get to hear about their escapades, and we just shake our heads and go like, these are the brilliant ones. What are the stupid kids doing? It was scary. And I have to tell you about one episode. The boys were all down, and of course they were drinking, and they were always smart enough not to drink and drive, and they were just smart kids. Well, I came out to our courtyard, and it is filled with beer cans. I mean, it looked like there was a party going on there for days. And I'm looking around and I noticed this wagon that I had bought for the little guys, for the grandkids. And it is a twisted, mangled mess. And I walked in and I looked at Andy and I said, that couldn't have been pretty. What the hell happened? And he just looked at me and goes, Josh didn't turn so good. And so I go in and I'm looking at Josh. I said, you okay, sweetie? Yeah, fine. And they just go back to sleep. I keep doing it again. When he first moved down to Palm Desert, all of our kids had gone, and John and I were feeling really lonely, especially after the twins had left. And Josh would come by for dinner and things, and we had our kid back. So, Tori, thank you so much for sharing him with me. It was an honor. I love you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen, and I inherited the Cathedral City Library from Josh. I inherited an amazing staff. He did so much for that library. Patrons still come in and remember him, ask about him, tell stories about him. It's just amazing. He made such an impression on our community. He gave so much. When I first got there, the library had been without him for 6 months. There was an employee there that I had to deal with, and I needed Josh's help because he had hired her. And so about 2 weeks in, one of my staff came and said, would it help you if you talked to Josh about her? And I thought about it for a minute. I hadn't met him yet. And I said, yes, please. So I didn't know yet that Josh was a brewer, but this staff member said, pick a bar that we can go to and meet. So we met at the Dropsman in Palm Springs. And what was supposed to be a discussion about this employee rapidly turned into a discussion about craft beer. And it was great. And I also met Roxana that day. And it's just been amazing knowing him. I wish I'd known him better. but it's been amazing meeting all the great people whose lives he touched. And I just want to thank you for sharing him with us. And Josh, until we meet again. And at that time, you're bringing the beer.
Hello, everyone. Does that work? My name is Daniel. I worked with Josh. He hired me at the Cathedral City Library. This was about 5 years ago. Everyone's talking about how giving he was, and that's true. He really helped me turn my life around. He was a good man. He was very giving, very protective. Some of you might know this story, but this happened outside of the library. I remember one time we met at the local Denny's. I was there with Roxanne and Morgan, and I was sitting across from him. We were sitting at the windows, at a window seat, and we're just having a discussion. We had just seen a movie, so we're talking about that, and suddenly he gets very serious. And he looks out the window. He's looking out the window, and he just gets up and he leaves. And I think, oh, he must be going to the restroom. He must have had a lot to drink. He loved to drink, what was it, iced tea all the time? No sugar. Man, I hate that. But next thing I know, Morgan looks out the window and he's like, I think Josh is choking a guy. and we look out, and yeah, he's holding a guy up by his neck. So obviously this guy messed up, or else Josh would have been doing this. So we go outside, and what Josh had seen was this drunk man slapped the woman he was with, and he didn't take that. He was such a protective guy, even to people who didn't know him. He got up from his seat, he went out, and separated the two. And this guy would not give up after that initial, Darth Vadering. He just pushed the guy. He was like, "You need to step away. You're causing a scene." And even after the cops showed up, this guy was looking to press charges or something. But after they heard the story, they're like, "Okay, if you press charges, Josh can press charges. So either you drop this and you leave, or this is going to become a thing." So this guy knew a little bit better and left. And that's just one instance of that I personally saw of Josh just being a great guy. We had a lot more in common than I knew. I found out close to when he was to depart to San Francisco. We had very similar situations at home due to our fathers. He was very, very wise, and he gave me some words of advice that have really helped me in my dealings with my own family and during this time. So I'm sorry that I never got to meet you before, but he was very important to me. Thank you.
Hello, I've known Josh since middle school. I got my first job with him at the baseball stadium with Amber Upper, bussing tables, delivering things.
This guy.
Josh was a great friend. I was with him on that infamous day with the BB gun. He was also a guest at me and my wife's wedding. She's over there, Jessica. And there was an incident where her mother had slipped and fallen, and there was a rush to get her to the hospital. And so our ride was gone, and Josh was nice enough to give us a ride to our hotel. And he was a stand-up guy. He'll be greatly missed by everyone. I'm very fortunate to have known him. And it's good seeing everyone here. He made quite an impact. Most funerals are good. There's like a handful of people, but this guy touched everyone. So. Anyway, proud to meet you, everyone.
Hi, my name's Megan. I'm actually one of Tandy's good friends. This really doesn't have any severe significance, nor is it funny, but for some reason on my way over here, this memory kept popping up in my head, like, oh yeah, I remember that one time. Which my memory is absolutely terrible, but for some reason it just kept going, so obviously that's somebody telling me I needed to share it. So we were being ragamuffins down here somewhere on the driveway, and then there was a snake. And I was like, oh, cool, friend, snake. And then all of a sudden I see Josh come out of the corner with a shovel and whack, and lops its head off. And I'm going, what just happened right now? But I thought it was kind of cool that he was there to like protect us. And then that was kind of a neat thing, because even afterwards he lifted it up and he's like, watch it wriggle. And I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? Why is that so cool looking? But it was just kind of neat that Josh was there to protect his sister and his friends. And you know, I'm very fortunate to have a great relationship with my brother, and you don't really see that often. I'm very spoiled that I have that kind of relationship, and Tandy had that with Josh as well. And you know, he never made us feel uncomfortable when we came to hang out with Tandy. He always kind of, you know, hung out for a little bit, but he was the cooler older brother, so he wasn't always like, cool guys, yeah, let me hang out too. He was always there and interacting with us, and I thought that was really cool. So anyways, thank you.
So I worked with Josh at the Beaumont Library, but our interaction started far before that. My last year of high school, I spent a lot of time in libraries, whether it was Thousand Palms or Cathedral City, and he was there after school, so a friend and I would go play Dominion with him. And I just thought it was cool that someone was there to just actually interact with the teens. That was a really big thing that I admired about him. And I didn't realize from that moment what big of an impact he would have on my life. I eventually moved on to work with Roxana, his fiance, and became closer to them. And there was an instance when I was working at Beaumont Library, he was wearing one of the old summer reading shirts. And I had complimented him on it, and he was like, you want it? And I was like, no, that's okay. I think it's a really cool shirt. He was like, no, I'm going to take it home. I'm going to wash it, and I'm going to bring it back to you. So when they had mentioned at one of the previous gatherings we had that he would give you the shirt off his back, it really hit me hard, because he quite literally did that. And I still have it. But yeah, he just had a large impact on my life, and I really miss him. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sally. I hope I can get through this. Tori and Josh, I've known their family for a long time, but Josh holds a real special place in my heart, because our daughter passed away on a Friday. We had a wedding that following day on a Saturday. He had made a beer for our granddaughter's wedding, and because of complications at the venue, we weren't able to use it. So 3 weeks later, at our daughter's celebration of life, which was held here with Tori, but you know, they're just wonderful to us. Josh brought the beer. I'm not a big beer drinker, hardly at all. But this beer was amazing. I drank 2 beers, and I'm not a beer drinker, right? So, and he was the first one to speak, at our daughter's celebration. And for me, Josh and Tori just hold a real special place in my heart and always will. And I will forever, ever be grateful to them.
Josh was my favorite deal, and he taught me how to make a deal. We were making paper airplanes, and
Either way, this is my daughter, Coraline. My name's Jose. I'm one of Josh's friends from childhood. I'm going to call on a few people to join me. Andrew, Ryan, Adam. You guys want to come up here? Literally, you guys don't need to say anything. This was literally our little small group. If it wasn't for Adam and Ryan, who were my best friends growing up, and with Andrew here, also one of my good friends, I would have never met Josh. And the story pretty much goes like this, how I kind of met Josh, and it starts off with a howdy, as always, because that's how we introduced. We were all in Gail's garage over in Marietta in a very Friday night, not knowing what to do with ourselves. And like Gail said, we had brilliant minds, so we put our brilliant minds together and we decided what we could come up with. At that point, I believe we came up with the idea of grabbing a pine car. For those who don't know, those are the cars that you put little wheels, they're made out of wood, you put wheels on them, and you race them. Decided to grab that, and then a couple of rockets that I think Ryan had. Little rockets that you would shoot up in the air and they come down with parachutes. Tie two of those onto them. And then Josh had the brilliant idea of like, let's put some napalm on the bottom of this car, and therefore we can light the rocket and the napalm on fire. And we're like, dude, that's such a great idea. We're like, yeah, let's do it. So Andrew went to go grab his pine car. We went to go look for some styrofoam. Somebody grabbed the gasoline, and Josh, once we got it all together, mixed it all up, and we concocted this going to hell vehicle. So then our brilliant minds once again came together and said, well, we got to light this thing off. So we decided to go to the middle school that's just down the street from here. And we'll light it down this back alley, and nothing wrong what's going to happen. And just to be safe, let's put this really thin flammable string on it. We'll tie it from one end to the other end. Therefore, we know it's going to go in a straight line. What can possibly go wrong? Well, either way, we go ahead and we light the napalm. Then we light the rockets, and then we just see this thing take off down the hill. We're like, yeah, cheering, until ironically the line burns, and the car decides to take its own path. And this path just happens to go into a bush and then ignite. So then you have us five genius running down the hill and stomping this thing before it goes out. So that was my entry to Josh's life. And from there, I could say we had lots of adventures like that. I know Andrew had adventures like that, same with Ryan and Adam. All separate when they were up in college. Or when we all got home together, we did some pretty amazing things. Other people would call them stupid. You would ask my wife, that's what she would call it. But we had really good times together. He will definitely be missed in our circle, but he will never be forgotten, and he will always have a beer at my house poured for him anytime I'm with these gentlemen. That's all I have to say.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ryan. I'm Andrew's younger brother. And it was a lot of fun growing up behind him and Josh. Because I remember we'd be at the house here in Marietta, and they would just come in just dusty, dirty, twigs in their hair. You didn't know where they went. They wouldn't tell you what they did, but now I know where they were hanging around. And I actually do remember the day of the pellet gun incident. I remember that because Andrew had called the house asking if Julia's friend was still a paramedic EMT. And that everything was okay, but they just had a few questions for you. So in your defense, they did make an effort before they went there. And yesterday when you had told me to wear green, it was crazy. I happened to just found this shirt in my closet, which was the same green that you and I wore when we hiked with Josh to the summit of Mount San Jacinto. So it was kind of neat that I saw that, and it was making me think that it didn't really take a lot to get Josh to do anything. You really just had to tell him what it was and ask, and 99% of the time, unless there was a schedule conflict, he was all about it. I remember we were sitting there, we were like, oh, I'm home for the summer, let's go hike Mount San Jacinto. And we called Josh, and he was like, yeah, it's a great idea. It was tough. It was a long day. And then when we went out to, I remember we were standing there, Josh and Jose had taken me to Joshua Tree to rappel with them, which was awesome because I'm sitting there with gear on and ropes, and Jose's tying stuff and Josh tying me in. And I asked him where they learned to do this, and it was YouTube. And not to worry, because they had done it down here somewhere off of a bridge. And that was their practice, as I'm about to lean over an 80-foot drop. So, that was just it. And YouTube, man, it freaked me out, and I still shake some days thinking about that. But I knew I was in good hands with both of you guys. And you guys would never put me in a situation that would harm me. So that's
You
go first for a reason.
Yeah, first.
Yeah. Everybody, I'm Adam. I'm Ryan's twin. So I met Josh right well when we were in middle school. He was Andrew's best friend, and he grew to be a second older brother to me. We all went to school together up in San Francisco, and then when my older brother left for that year, Josh was still working on his master's. So him and I really got to hang out all the time, and he was never too busy or never door not open for me, or whoever it is I was going to bring over. We were always just so welcoming, and it was great to have him. His love for science never stopped. Josh used to. We knew Josh when the internet you could still get the Anarchist Cookbook offline. So Josh used to build these 2-liter bombs, and before we'd go out in San Francisco, we'd all stay at Josh's apartment, make these things, and then throw them over the balcony, watch them pop, and laugh, have a beer, and then one time they didn't go off. One of them didn't go off. So we're sitting there drinking beer, decided we'll probably hit the town, and as we're walking out, this massive explosion hits the street. Yeah. Figured we'd better hit the lights off and split before the cops showed up. And that was pretty much all of our stories for Josh. Like Andy said, whatever happened in San Francisco stayed up there. So, well, yeah, except for that. But Josh was really special to me. He was an older brother. I'm gonna miss him.
Hi, I'm Andrew. Friend of Josh since middle school. We had a lot of memories. We did a lot of things together. Josh had so many interests. It was not just interests, they were just passions. Josh had so many different passions. One of them was camping. I remember that. We would always go up in the wilderness around here. Justin, I remember one of our first trips was with you, Tandy, and Megan. We just spoke. We nearly freeze, as I remember. It was a cold night, but we always survived our camping trips. We'd take trips together. We went to Spain, which was a hardcore 3 days of trying to see as much as we could. We got it all in though. I have so many memories of Josh, but my favorite one, the way I always remember, is just because Josh wouldn't really tell you what he was doing. He'd just be like, "Oh, I'm starting to brew beer. Oh, hey, I'm doing a podcast." And then you'd look more into it. Yeah. You'd be like, "Hey, I got this beer I'm brewing in my closet. You want to try it?" And we tried, and I thought it's actually pretty good. So, and then when you started telling me about the podcast, it was like, "Oh, okay, I guess a couple of guys are doing a podcast." And then, little do I know, they got a following. They got swag. They got what? It's not a little thing. There's people across the country that listen to this. So. He's very humble, but truly an amazing person.
some dirt. I love it. So I think throughout the day there will be lots of time for us to share more memories, like be brutal. Let's talk about it. I just wanted to end the kind of open mic segment with a memory that I'm sure a lot of you have with Josh, which is road trips. I remember, Jose was telling me that him and Josh got close because they were doing a lot of road trips to go see the Knotbergs when they moved to Palm Desert, right? Yeah, so there's, I know Josh and Roxana went on a ton of road trips all over California. I know there was a time, this was way, way back in the day, that's how old we are, when you can actually get into Comic-Con just by showing up. You didn't have to like plan like years in advance. So me, Megan, Josh, and I don't remember which of the twins, I'm sorry. Ryan. Was it Ryan? Anyway, we went on like a long road trip to go to Comic-Con because we just rolled out of bed and like, hey, you want to go to Comic-Con? and that was a really, really good time. But on these road trips that we take, like, Josh was really like, he really loved his music. We were going through his CD wallet, and it's ridiculous. I remember Josh used to get pissed when I would like pull CDs out and not put them back alphabetically, and it was still like that. And I was just going through his music and remembering like all the different stuff that he exposed me to Daft Punk at 16, just like Jenny, and changed my life. But I wanted to end with one of the songs when Josh and I would drive down. We'd be driving on trips down from San Francisco like all the time, and Josh and I didn't see each other a ton in San Francisco because we kind of were doing our own thing. But those road trips were like concentrated sibling bonding time, and part of that was singing. We would sing together to these songs. So this song, after I found out